11 students on the team this past year, and 6 of them are here when they don't have to be because clearly they really got a lot out of it. They like it, and they want other people to get that similar experience. So let's go into kind of the overview and what it is about. It is a team for which we have the first semester is typically it's more of a classroom type atmosphere, or at least lecture to begin with, and then we try to start doing mini portions of the trial. We'll start with everybody doing some opening statements and learning how to do those. Then we'll move on to direct examinations, how to craft those, and cross examinations. Then maybe directs and crosses of expert witnesses, since they have some different aspects to them. And then closing arguments. There's other little things like motions in limine, motions for judgment, things like that we get into as well. But after the first semester, the second semester switches into full-on mock trials. It is something we try to simulate the competition, which there's no avoiding it. There's going to be 2 trials in a day. It's long, it's arduous. So we try to get everyone used to that. We do 2 trials every Sunday in the fall semester.
In the spring, in the month of January.
I said fall. Yeah, in the spring semester. So
really, just by the spring semester, we mean starting in early January.
That's true. Yes, right. It's actually we try to do it before school starts actually. And there's a good reason for that. We either go against some of the best law schools in the country that are based out of DC, and they're in our region. And so we compete toe-to-toe with them every year, but to do that, we have to work hard. So the differences between this and, say, moot court. Moot court, there's a writing component. It's part of your the tryout, it's part of your competition, and anything, there's going to be writing a brief. There's no writing component to this. Really what we're looking for in a tryout is the ability of someone to own a room, command attention, and command the respect of their peers. The rest can be coached or taught, is how we feel. So we're looking for somebody that has the it factor, the ability to, like I said, command attention. And so, like I said, it's a 2-semester program, and each of those semesters is 1 credit. So there's 1 credit for the fall, 1 credit for the spring. They are pass-fail. We plan on starting on a meeting. It's usually the second week of classes. We don't meet the first week of the fall semester, but we'll meet on Wednesday evenings. It's going to be between 6 and 7. We don't know for sure right now, but that will generally be the time commitment, and it's about an hour and a half. Was it an hour 40? Something like that. This is like an hour and a half of commitments on Wednesday evenings, and that's only in the fall semester. There is only 1 prerequisite we have, and that is that you be taking evidence in the fall semester of your 2L year, or if you're an evening student, there might be a different time you can take it, but that is something you have to be taking at the same time as doing the trial team in the fall semester. We stop meeting during the exam periods. So once the fact pattern that people will be competing with comes out in mid-November, and at that point we might reconvene, start strategizing, talking about what we'll do for competition, and then we take some time off, let everybody do their finals, and then once the new year comes along is when we start the practice trials and start using the fact pattern that we're going to be competing with. What else? Yeah, the competition is typically in early February. I think the earliest it's been is January 31st. The latest has probably been the 3rd week of February. So it's always going to be in that area, and that's part of the reason we have kind of a tight time crunch here. We only just had it a week or 2 ago. So we were focusing on the competition then, but now we want to focus on getting in new members and getting tryouts going. But we also do want to have it after spring break, and everybody resent us for making them do work over their spring break. Let's see. So the competition, typically it's going to be between 4 and 6 students get to actually go and compete. We try to expand, try to make it so we send 6 every year. If there's your 3-person team going, that means 1 attorney will be going on both plaintiff and defense side. This year's criminal pattern, next year or this year's civil, next year will be criminal. There'll be 1 attorney that goes on both sides, and then there'll be 2 attorneys, 1 for the defense side, 1 for the plaintiff side. The competitions themselves consist of opening statements, direct examination of a witness, cross-examination of a witness, and closings. There are 2 witnesses for the 2 attorneys. Whoever opens cannot close on the same side. The judges then score based out of 20 points for the openings and closings, and out of 15 points for the direct examination, 15 points for the cross-examination. So there's 100 points up for grabs on each side. And really what it is it's how good you look doing it. My analogy I always use is it's figure skating. You'll do your thing, hopefully you got the substance right as well, but when it's all said and done, somebody's just going to hold up a card with the score, kind of. Not literally, you won't see the score. But that's really what it is. It's how good you look doing it. That's why what we focus on is doing polish, making sure everybody looks good doing what they're doing. And knowing enough substance so that you don't get thrown off to then stop looking good doing what you're doing. All right. Oh, yes. And I'm not sure I mentioned this yesterday. Even non-competing members, I think people hear that was the case. Non-competing members still get a ton out of it, and we encourage them to go to the competition. We get them hotel rooms, make sure that they can go and watch. It's especially helpful for a 2L who does not get to compete, to see what the environment's like, see how these competitions work, and then be more prepared for the 3rd year. So are there any questions? I'm going to get into what we're looking for tryouts. But are there any questions about how it works, the competition, any other stuff we just kind of went over? All right. Yeah, what?
So this semester, you're looking for you're asking people to try out to compete next semester or the next semester?
The next, so it would be next February is the actual competition.
Right,
But we
but
start in the
practices
fall.
start in the fall. So this semester, spring of 17, we're doing tryouts. Fall of 17, we will have a Wednesday evening, kind of, like I said, a more classroom component where we teach the process, teach how to do examinations, how to do opening, closing statements. That'll happen in the fall, and then we set up the spring semester for the actual competition. So the competition will occur, the competition that you're trying out for now will occur in February of 2018. And then it'll be done. So for the 6 of us up here, we're receiving a credit for competing on the trial team for the spring semester, but we have nothing left to do for trial team. So it starts in early January on Sundays, but it's over before you really get into the meat of the semester and have to deal with exams and even midterms and things like that. So that's kind of the timeline now, is we're trying out now for next year's team.
Yeah, and at least typically that's the timeline. And that's because there are 22 teams in our region, and only 2 get to move on to nationals. It's really difficult. Plus the fact that it's a subjective competition makes it all the more unpredictable. It's just the odds are against anybody. We had it the year after Georgetown won the national championship. They failed to move on or to even get a team into the top 8 out of 22. So it's tricky. We don't really know. So we just sort of assume that the team will not be moving on. If they were to move on, it would go, there's the national championships in April in Texas. But just like I said, the way the odds work is it's typically over in mid-February.
And that would be a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. You're like, oh, I didn't move on, but I'm done with all of my trials.
You're essentially getting 2 credits in the fall because we don't do that much in the spring.
Oh no, I wouldn't be. I don't think I'm not going to be here in February.
Oh, you're graduating in this year?
Yeah. Well, you can still come be a witness. Oh yeah, I should mention that. The difference between the national trial competition teams and other mock trial teams. This is the only one, as far as I'm aware, that the witnesses are not on the team. The witnesses are volunteers. At competition, you meet them about 20 minutes before the trial. You have 15 minutes to prepare them. We call it woodshedding. And then you're going to have to do your direct examination with that witness once the trial starts. And you would cross-examine a witness that's been prepared by the other team. All right, so tryouts. You can, I don't know. Yeah. Thanks for that. So tryouts, we want people to pick an opening or a closing. I should start with, we're gonna post a fact pattern, an old fact pattern that probably one that I competed with, or maybe the years before that, where it'll have everything you need from all the depositions of all the witnesses. I recommend not really messing with, because it's usually about 100 pages long. I remember not messing with the first, usually, I don't know, 20 pages or so, because it's all stipulations and things that don't really matter. You're mostly going to be concerned with the depositions and the exhibits. You will pick a side, whichever one you feel that you'd be able to advocate for better, and that so it can be plaintiff or the defense. And you can give an opening statement or closing argument. In actual competition, closings cannot be fully memorized. They vary based on what evidence gets in or gets kept out during trial. Openings can always be memorized. In this scenario, we don't really mind if you memorize a closing. There's not going to be objections. There's not going to be any coaches interrupting you during it. It's just, like I said, wanting to see everyone's ability to capture the audience. So, openings. I recommend when writing one or preparing for one, there's a few simple ways to organize one. One is the order in which you expect the case to go. Start with some rhetoric, try to use, I'll talk about this in a minute, theme and theory, and then talk about the first witness you're going to hear from, what they're going to say that's good for your case, and what they're not going to say that's good for your case. And then so on all the way through all four witnesses. You can tie it up in a bow with some more theme and theory stuff. Theory is, in 2 sentences or so, what your side is arguing happened. And I guess so. In this fact pattern, I'm not sure we're going to use it or not, but there's one where there's a pilot. He's flying. He needs to make an emergency landing, and there's a very rich guy who owns an airstrip who accepted federal money to put to build this airstrip. I said land strip. Build this airstrip, and then as a result, because he took that money, he's supposed to have a working PAL system, pilot activated lighting system. So the pilot should be able to activate the lighting system, and then they'll be able to land at night. Didn't have a working PAL system, and so the plaintiff's that is the plaintiff's theory. Is what happened. My guy was taking off. He needed somewhere to land. He had a duty to maintain the lighting system because he accepted federal money. He breached that duty because it wasn't working, and that caused the plane to crash and led to damages against my client. Flip side, the defense would say that this guy wouldn't have been able to land it even if the lighting was working, so you can't show causation. That is your theory. Theme, plaintiff's theme, one I like to use in all scenarios. They should have known better. And so you would go through and say, he should have known better. Once he took federal money, he knew that he had to keep a pilot-activated lighting system working on his runway. He didn't. Now, he knew he needed to do that, or he should have known. Then move on to the next thing. He didn't. Yeah. So you're bringing up the fact that they should have known better multiple times. That's how a theme should be worked into an opening or a closing. Too often I see it just used as a bookend. People will say a theme at the beginning or the end. So the tryout will last